construction projects, the question of whether plans or specifications carry more weight, legally and contractually, is a critical one. The answer is nuanced and depends on several factors, primarily the applicable contract and relevant building codes. Generally speaking, drawings often take precedence over specifications. This is because drawings are considered more detailed and authoritative. They provide a visual representation of the project, offering a clear understanding of the design intent. Specifications, on the other hand, supplement the drawings. They clarify the materials, systems, and construction methods to be used. However, specifications cannot override the requirements shown in the drawings. The contract between the involved parties, such as the owner and the contractor, plays a significant role in determining the precedence between drawings and specifications. A common provision is that drawings control in situations where they conflict with the specifications. This places greater emphasis on the clarity and accuracy of the drawings. Specifications can control, however, where they offer more detail. This allows the specifications to provide additional information that may not be easily or clearly shown on the drawings. It is important to note that there are exceptions to these general rules. One significant exception involves safety requirements. Specifications may override drawings if they address safety concerns that are not adequately addressed in the drawings. This ensures that the project adheres to the necessary safety standards, even if the drawings are deficient in this regard. Government regulations also play a crucial role. Building codes or other government regulations may override both drawings and specifications if they impose stricter standards. This ensures that the project complies with all applicable legal and regulatory requirements. To avoid disputes and ensure a smooth construction process, it is best practice to ensure that drawings and specifications are consistent and do not contradict each other. This requires careful coordination and review during the design and documentation phases. If discrepancies do arise, it is essential to seek legal counsel to determine the precedence based on the applicable law and the specific contract provisions. Legal counsel can provide expert guidance in interpreting the contract and navigating any legal complexities. In summary, while drawings generally take precedence due to their visual detail and representation of the project, the specific contract, safety requirements, and government regulations can all influence which document carries more weight. Consistency and clarity between drawings and specifications are paramount to preventing disputes and ensuring successful project execution. When inconsistencies arise, seeking legal counsel is a prudent step to resolve any conflicts and ensure compliance with all applicable laws and regulations. The contract is the controlling document that sets the ground rules between the involved parties. Within that contract, there should be language detailing how discrepancies or conflicts between different contract documents are handled. The contract documents often include the drawings, specifications, and any addenda or modifications made during the bidding or construction phases. Typically, the contract will establish a hierarchy or order of precedence among the contract documents. For example, it might state that the specifications take precedence over the drawings, or vice versa. It could also state that addenda take precedence over both the drawings and specifications, as addenda represent the most recent modifications to the contract requirements. The purpose of establishing an order of precedence is to provide a clear mechanism for resolving conflicts or ambiguities that may arise during construction. If there is a conflict between the drawings and the specifications, the order of precedence will dictate which document controls. In many cases, the specifications are given precedence over the drawings because the specifications provide more detailed and precise information about the materials, methods, and workmanship required for the project. The drawings, on the other hand, primarily illustrate the physical layout and dimensions of the project. However, this is not always the case, and the specific order of precedence will depend on the terms of the contract. Some contracts may give precedence to the drawings in certain situations, such as when the drawings provide more specific information about a particular detail or condition. It is important for all parties involved in the project to carefully review and understand the order of precedence established in the contract. This will help to avoid disputes and ensure that the project is constructed in accordance with the contract requirements. If there is any ambiguity or uncertainty about the order of precedence, it is best to seek clarification from the project owner or the architect or engineer who prepared the contract documents. In addition to the order of precedence, the contract may also include other provisions that address conflicts or discrepancies between the contract documents. For example, the contract may require the contractor to notify the architect or engineer of any conflicts or discrepancies that are discovered during construction. The architect or engineer will then be responsible for interpreting the contract documents and providing a resolution. The contract may also include a clause that states that the contractor is responsible for providing the highest quality of work, even if the drawings or specifications are deficient. This means that the contractor must use a professional judgment and experience to ensure that the project is constructed in a safe and workmanlike manner, even if it means deviating from the strict requirements of the contract documents. Overall, the question of whether plans or specifications carry more weight is a complex one that depends on the specific terms of the contract and the circumstances of the project. It is important for all parties involved to carefully review and understand the contract documents and to seek clarification from the project owner or the architect or engineer if there are any questions or concerns. By doing so, it is possible to minimize the risk of disputes and ensure that the project is completed successfully. Moreover, local building codes, which may be adopted at the state, county, or municipal level, can impose specific requirements or standards that override conflicting provisions in either the plans or specifications. For example, a local code might mandate a higher fire resistance rating for certain building materials than what is specified in the project documents. In such a case, the building code would take precedence, and the project would have to be constructed in accordance with the stricter code requirements. It is the responsibility of the design team, including architects and engineers, to be knowledgeable about all applicable building codes and regulations and to ensure that the project documents comply with those requirements. This may involve conducting thorough research, consulting with local code officials, and incorporating code-compliant details and specifications into the project documents. Similarly, contractors have a responsibility to be aware of and comply with all applicable building codes and regulations. This may involve reviewing the project documents for code compliance, obtaining necessary permits and inspections, and ensuring that all work is performed in accordance with code requirements. If a contractor discovers a conflict between the project documents and the building code, they should notify the architect or engineer and seek clarification. Failure to comply with building codes can result in costly delays, rework, and potential legal penalties. Therefore, it is essential for all parties involved in a construction project to prioritize code compliance and to work together to ensure that the project meets all applicable requirements. In addition to building codes, other government regulations, such as environmental regulations, zoning ordinances, and accessibility standards, may also impact the precedence of plans and specifications. For example, environmental regulations may require the use of specific materials or construction methods to minimize pollution or protect sensitive habitats. Zoning ordinances may restrict the height, size, or location of buildings, and accessibility standards may require specific features to accommodate people with disabilities. In all of these cases, the government regulations would take precedence over conflicting provisions in the plans or specifications. The design team and the contractor must be aware of and comply with all applicable government regulations. This may involve conducting environmental assessments, obtaining necessary permits, and incorporating regulatory requirements into the project documents and construction practices. In the event of a conflict between the plans, specifications, and government regulations, it is important to seek guidance from legal counsel or regulatory experts. These professionals can provide advice on how to resolve the conflict and ensure compliance with all applicable requirements. Ultimately, the goal is to construct a project that is safe, functional, and compliant with all applicable laws and regulations. In addition to the legal and regulatory considerations, there are also practical considerations that can influence the precedence of plans and specifications. For example, if the plans contain a clear and detailed illustration of a particular construction detail, while the specifications provide only a general description, the contractor may rely on the plans as a more authoritative source of information. Similarly, if the specifications contain a typographical error or an outdated reference, the contractor may rely on the plans as the more accurate source of information. However, it is important to note that these practical considerations should not override the legal and regulatory requirement. The contractor should always prioritize compliance with the contract documents, building codes, and government regulations. If there is any doubt about which document to follow, the contractor should seek clarification from the architect or engineer. The architect or engineer can review the conflicting documents and provide guidance on how to proceed. In some cases, it may be necessary to issue a change order to modify the plans or specifications to resolve the conflict. The change order should be documented in writing and signed by all parties involved. This will ensure that there is a clear record of the changes that were made and that all parties are in agreement. The use of technology has also impacted the way that plans and specifications are created, distributed, and managed. Building information modeling, also known as BIM, is a digital representation of the physical and functional characteristics of a building or infrastructure project. BIM allows architects, engineers, and contractors to collaborate more effectively and to identify and resolve conflicts before construction begins. With BIM, the plans and specifications are integrated into a single digital model. This makes it easier to ensure that the documents are consistent and that there are no conflicts. BIM also allows for better visualization and simulation of the project. This can help to identify potential problems and to make better decisions about design and construction. The use of cloud-based project management software has also made it easier to manage plans and specifications. This software allows all parties involved in the project to access the latest version of the documents from anywhere with an internet connection. It also provides tools for tracking changes, managing revisions, and communicating with other team members. The use of technology can help to improve the accuracy and efficiency of the construction process. It can also help to reduce the risk of errors and omissions. However, it is important to remember that technology is only a tool. It is still necessary to have skilled and experienced professionals to design, construct, and manage the project. The plans and specifications are the foundation of any construction project. They provide the instructions for how the project should be built. It is essential to ensure that the plans and specifications are accurate, complete, and consistent. This requires careful attention to detail and effective communication among all parties involved. When conflicts or discrepancies arise, it is important to address them promptly and to seek guidance from legal counsel or regulatory experts if necessary. By following these best practices, it is possible to minimize the risk of disputes and to ensure that the project is completed successfully.